now the latest on June 25th around the wide world of tropics. Here's your tropical weather bulletin. We're still awaiting the next tropical storm of the world so far in 2019, but there are three invests that are all vying to get that status pretty soon: 93E, 94W and 95W on opposite sides of the Pacific. In the Atlantic, it's day 25 of hurricane season and no systems to report at this time. That looks to be the case for some time yet. The Eastern Pacific has Invest 93E, a 70% chance of development in the next 5 days. It's day 42 of hurricane season there. 94W still has a 60% chance of development and 95W is at 40%, same as yesterday. And no systems are active in the southern hemisphere at this time and none expected anytime in the future, at least the foreseeable. So Invest 94W has winds of 30 miles per hour and a pressure of 1007 millibars, still headlining our update. 352 miles from Basco in the Philippines, 19.6 north, 127.4 east roughly, but the center is hard to come by. Over the next few days, we expect the system could develop into a tropical storm, pass very close to or over the Ryukyu Islands of Japan, and then shift towards the northeast, turning post-tropical somewhere around the island of Honshu, the main island of Japan. Whereas Invest 93E has winds of 30 miles per hour and a pressure of 1009 millibars at the latest update, 226 miles from Acapulco, Mexico, 14.3 north, 101.9 west. Over the next few days, expected to move towards the west-northwest and expected again to become a tropical storm, but the models still don't really know exactly what strength it will reach. But generally, they're all calling for a pretty weak system at this time, and we'll see whether it does pick up any further than that weak tropical storm that they're expecting. Here's a look at the wind shear graphic over Invest 93E right now. You can see there less than 5 knots of wind shear over where the possible center of the storm might be, which I think is a little bit towards the west or northwest of the little eye marker which depicts the center of the storm according to Sims. But high amounts of wind shear towards the east there and slightly increasing towards the west, but not very much. Alright, the satellite imagery looks like this in the North Atlantic right now. More cloud coverage entering the Eastern Atlantic by the looks of things around the Cape Verde Islands, but not really anything in terms of tropical developments anywhere across the ocean right now. Frontal system over the Central Atlantic there pushing off towards the east. Gulf of Mexico pretty quiet, but towards the north there you can see that little system there pushing towards the south. Thunderstorms developing there over southern Texas. The Eastern Pacific out in the open ocean looks like this, still pretty quiet, but you can now see Invest 93E on the right hand side of that first look that we had there. Over the central part of the Pacific, extremely quiet at this point, nothing going on, and I don't think we would have expected that. The Western Pacific looks like this. You can quite clearly see Invest 94W on the left hand side of the screen. 95W is right down there towards the bottom right hand side of the screen, only partially on this view actually, but 94W quite visible there. The Australia and South Pacific region looks like this. You can see quite a lot of thunderstorms popping up there near the equator. Little feature there headed for Fiji, but not likely to become anything. And the Indian Ocean looks like this, fairly quiet. Monsoonal patterns occurring in the equatorial Bay of Bengal, but really very little in the way of disturbances. Sea surface temperatures in the Eastern Pacific are very warm, 30 degrees or higher where Invest 93E is. The Gulf of Mexico warm, 28 or 29. The Western Caribbean 28 to 29 as well. The Eastern Caribbean around 27 or 28 Celsius. The Arabian Sea is generally fairly warm, 28 degrees, not too hard to come by. The Bay of Bengal even warmer, 28 to 30, possibly even more in some areas. The same too for the South China Sea, and the Philippine Sea is the world's hotspot right now at 31, possibly going on 32 in one or two spots just south of 94W. Hasn't really taken advantage of that though, because it's still not too well looking, especially when it's looking for its center of circulation, which it is been on and off over the last few days, but in the latest frames it's not looking quite as good, not so much rotation, convection blowing up towards the east and north of the system, but really not too much out of it, especially when we look at the ASCAT winds, still pretty low. 93E, maybe you could say perhaps a little bit better there, potential circulation or rotation at least, just on the left hand side there, blowing up towards the north but nothing reaching land at this point. You can just about see the coast of Mexico there, looking pretty safe and sound. The next name in the Atlantic is going to be Barry. The Eastern Pacific's first name will be Alvin. Whether it comes off 93E or not remains to be seen. The next name in the Central Pacific is Akoni. In the Western Pacific, we're still waiting for Sepat, which is the next name on the list there. Hika is next to come in the North Indian Ocean. You can find Force 13's outlets, the website force13.com with the latest information. You can also find our YouTube page if you're not there already. Please subscribe if you haven't so far. Search Force 13, and same too for our social mediums, and it's at Force 13 on Twitter if you'd like to get in touch on there. That's all for tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. We'll be back again tomorrow. You can also help the project become even better by becoming a patron. You can see more information about all the benefits involved by visiting patreon.com/Force13. You can also contact me on Discord. It's Fool13 at extension 9094 and Force13 on Skype. You can also find our server link to our Discord server for Tropical Weather Chat in our description.